Hey Patrick, I'm Seth with According to Seth. How you doing today?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you for having me. I love the movies and I love the show even more. So, congrats on all of that.
Oh, thanks so much.
Of
That warms
course.
my heart.
I was actually at the Fantastic Fest premiere, so I got to see the three episodes, which was super cool.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that
Um,
was a trip. That was super scary because not only was it our premiere, it was also a secret screening. So we had no idea whether people were going to like it or not. And also, it was going to be a surprise that they were watching it at the same time. So it was a trip.
when he
But,
came out in the Peach Fuzz mask and everything, I was like, this is gonna be the best thing ever.
oh,
So first things first, I love the format of turning this into a series. So what was the hardest thing to overcome converting it to that form? Because obviously, we have the two movies.
that's a good question. Yeah, we had been mulling over potential ideas for Creep 3 for a long time. And finally, it was when we came up with this idea of using the tapes that were revealed at the end of Creep 1 as a framing device that it sort of opened up the world for us and made us realize, oh, we can actually kind of explore all these ideas that we've been considering, albeit in shorter ways. So I would say the biggest shift that took place in our storytelling is the challenge of like how do you effectively convey a funny, scary scenario in a much more truncated amount of time, because with the movies we were allowed to let things breathe, and there's sort of I watched the first one again recently and I was like just surprised at how slow it is and how much time it takes. And we kind of have less of an opportunity to do that with the series. That said, though, we have no time constraints. So if we do end up making more of these, I think there'll be an opportunity to sort of stretch even longer when it comes to the timing of it all.
That would be awesome. And obviously, there were some incredible episodes this season. I love the Bran episode and the Brad episode, like seeing how smart he was, Peach Fuzz, and like doing this like whole elaborate setup. Um, I thought that was just genius. So, what episode kind of stuck out to you the most and meant the most to you to film?
Uh, um, I don't know. I love them all for different reasons. I love all my children. But I would say my two favorites are the ones that I keep coming back to, just for the sake of them being so unique and different, are the finale, which I won't give anything away about, but we got to work with Krisha Fairchild in that, who's this amazing actor that was on. She was on the show Channel Zero, and she's also in the movie Krisha, and she's an incredible actor. And then I had a really great experience making episode 2, Elliot, the bird watching episode out in the middle of nowhere. And that was fun to be able to like give ourselves the challenge of making something that's completely taking place in daylight. And so just like making stuff that sort of opened up the world to us and let us realize that there's like just so many different places we can go to with this character.
That's so awesome. I love that episode. I actually watched that one earlier today and I thought it
Oh,
was so
cool.
cool and how he just kind of disappears and then reappears. I was like, this guy's for sure. I thought he was gonna get away, but nope.
Yeah.
Can't escape him.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask, I think it would be so cool to kind of see Peach Fuzz go up against like another serial killer, somebody who can like match his craziness and wittiness. Has that ever been something that you thought of doing? Like you and Mark, have you thought about exploring that?
Yeah. That's definitely been in there with the heap of ideas. I mean, no one no one like no big name
Yeah,
that exists already or anything, but that's definitely been something we've thought about as well. It's hard because I think part of what's scary about the way the films work is when you're watching the movies and when they're found footage, you're sort of taking the place of the other character in them, and most often than not in our show, that's the victim. So introducing another character that's also supposed to be scary is like it's a needle to thread, as they say.
definitely. I
But it's
mean,
but it's one we've talked about for sure.
well, if you could, like any fictional killer was off, like no one was off limits, who would you want to see him go toe to toe with?
Oh my God. I mean, I do think there's a world in which him and Patrick Bateman would be a really
That
interesting
would be so
combination.
great.
Just in terms of like thinking about guys like normal looking guys or seeming guys, and also guys with obsessions.
Hmm.
Uh, like I like Joseph's obsession with movies, I would say is equivalent to Patrick Bateman's obsession with 80s pop music. Um, but yeah, that's the first that comes to mind.
Having them get into an argument over a business card would be the
Yeah,
greatest thing of all
yeah,
time. I need that now.
yeah.
So, will there ever be a part of either like in a movie or a series of us kind of exploring how he got into killing? I know it kind of touches in the series a little bit, but will that kind of like that end the ending episode kind of like, you know, pinpoint into a more elaborate reasoning for why he does what he does?
Yeah, I mean, we want to do this as long as we possibly can. So I think giving out definitive answers is something that, we're trying to
Avoid,
pace
yeah.
ourselves with, right? But I would say the season finale gives the most definitive evidence as
Okay.
to his upbringing as you'll get in the entire franchise.
Perfect. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to get into spoilers. Listen, Mark's amazing. It's crazy how he goes from like comedic to downright terrifying. So, as the director, and I know you guys have been friends for a while, how do you go about getting the best from him with each take, or is it kind of just natural at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like slipping back into like an old trusty pair of pants at this point. There's a lot of uh, prep that goes into these, but there's also a lot of just unwritten instinctual energy that goes into it as well. And so at this point, this has kind of become part of our lives. And so we have an idea of uh what this guy is like and where he's going. And so, it'll be if it's been a while since we'd shot an episode, there'd be like a take or two of us dipping back into the character and finding it. And that involved just a lot of like work on Mark's part and in terms of performance, but then also my part in terms of observation and being there to help him make adjustments if he needs. But we're pretty like in tune with each other at this point when it comes to that stuff. And Mark works very fast and is extremely diligent. And so like my job a lot of the time is just begging him to do another take for safety's sake, even though in a lot of the circumstances, like one example is his monologue with the axe towards the end of episode one, that's all in one take. That was our first take, and
Wow.
it was the best. And it started snowing in the middle of the take. Like it was just like one of those things that like, okay, too many factors are coming into play here that are working for us. But yeah, it's a very unique process because of the nature of the form and the character and how long we've been doing this. And so I'm just constantly grateful that I get to work this way because it's so special, for me.
That monologue was so great too. So that's crazy to know that that was all in one take. Like, I find it so fascinating that people can just like do that off the whim, which is it's like a testament to how great of an actor he is.
Yeah, I know. I find it amazing too. I couldn't do that as a performer. I would trip myself up and I would overthink it. And he's able to just like roll his eyes back in his head like Bran from Game of Thrones and then
Hmm.
just dip right in and channel whoever he's channeling in this beautiful way. And so I'm I'm just grateful that he's doing it with this character and that we're getting the chance to do it for as long as we've been doing it for.
I'm glad too.
Mhm.
What like per set, do you have a favorite moment or memory filming the series? Something that stuck out to you and that you'll kind of carry on for future projects?
I mean, there's so many of them just because of the way in which we shoot, there'll inevitably be some alchemy moment of timing where things are just working out with each other. I mean, I've already sort of blown it, but I would
Mhm.
say shooting episode one and the fact that it started snowing in the middle of shooting that episode. When we got up there, there was no snow on the ground to the cabin we were shooting in. And then on the end of night one, it started snowing and it started like it was almost like a little blizzard. And so we just wrote it into the episode. And it's one of those beautiful things that you can't plan for that, or you can only
Mhm.
plan so much for that, you know. And so to have been able to write it into the episode and for it to factor into it the way that it does visually is just such a gift and like one of those things that we can only do with the Creep franchise is
Yeah.
because you know we're such a small unit that we're able to kind of be nimble and make adjustments like that.
It was the perfect way to kick things off, and it was very Shining-esque.
Yeah, for sure.
So with the series coming to close, is there anything that you want people to take away from this series, or any hints at a possible second season or doing that third movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are open and excited and ready for any of and all of it. You know, if folks want to see that, I think making noise online about it
Mhm.
is the way to go because people are listening. I'm just so grateful to have found this home at Shutter because they're just amazing partners and know exactly how to dial into their audience, which is also our audience.
Mhm.
And so that's been really lovely. And then, you know, I'm just so grateful to been able to like make these films. I mean, I know it's a TV show, but they do feel like short films at the same time. You know, like I think Joseph would consider his
Mhm.
tapes short films, and so the freedom that this has granted me in my working life is like not lost on me. And so while I'm, you know, trying to navigate my career and make other bigger stuff from a production standpoint, to be able to have this thing that we completely created on our own and not only have that be part of my working life, but also have an audience for it and have it been embraced by people is like just one of the gifts of my entire life. So Mark and I both want to make these forever.
Please do. Last
Yeah.
question I have here for you. I use movies as a way to connect with people. I think it's a great way to help bridge the gap and help people understand who you are as a person better. So, what's one movie that you always recommend to help somebody to get to know you better as a person?
Oh man. Uh I I mean it depends on who I'm dealing with, but I would honestly say of like, you know, outside of like epiphanies that I've had in terms of like wanting to make movies or like watching movies that have inspired me, I think being 14 years old and the movie Freddy Got Fingered coming out, and me and my friends going to see it in the movie theater, and we were the only people in the theater because it had bombed so hard because it had gotten such terrible reviews and everyone hated it. But my God, did a movie ever feel like it was tailored perfectly for mine and my friend's sensibility? And to see it sort of take on the life that it has had since then and kind of be embraced as this like surrealist masterpiece, which is what it is, you know, like this insane Canadian comedian taking all this money and going and making this absolutely incoherent,
Yeah.
like ridiculous movie. So that was, if I'm being honest, in my soul, that's the first thing that came to mind.
It's the perfect movie. My brother showed me that when I was younger and I loved it. So that's an amazing answer. Well, thank you so much for the time today. Literally, congrats on all of this, and I'm so happy that we got a show out of this, and hopefully we get more and more.
Right on. Cool. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the support, man.